Lieutenant Mara Kessler moved through the broken hallway with slow, careful steps. Her boots crunched on shattered glass and pieces of metal. Smoke hung in the air like a gray fog, and every breath tasted like burned plastic. The old mining station on this moon had become a battlefield, and now it was just a graveyard of twisted steel and silence. Her helmet display showed faint life signs somewhere ahead, weak, flickering, almost gone. "Forward team, this is Kessler," she said, her voice calm out of habit. "I'm following a possible survivor signal, grid C7. Might be a wounded soldier." Static crackled in her ear, then a tired voice answered, "Copy, medic. Proceed with caution. Enemy patrols still unaccounted for." "We never account for everything," she muttered to herself and moved on. Mara was a war medic, trained to treat wounds in the middle of chaos. She had patched up soldiers under fire, in burning dropships, in trenches full of mud and fear. But this place felt different. It was too quiet. No shouting, no gunfire, just distant rumbles from far-away explosions on the horizon. She passed a wall where someone had spray-painted a simple human smiley face long ago. It was half-burned now, a black streak across it. She looked at it for a second, then kept walking. The life signs grew stronger as she went deeper into the broken station. Her med scanner beeped softly. Heartbeat detected. Large mass. Very large. Mara frowned. "That can't be human," she whispered. There was a breach in the outer wall ahead. Through twisted metal and damaged bulkheads, she could see the dark blue sky of the moon and the orange glow of fires outside. In the center of the broken space, half covered by fallen beams, something big was lying still. Her brain told her to freeze. Her training told her to observe. So she did. The creature was huge. Even lying down, it was larger than a heavy tank. Scales shimmered faintly under dust and soot, a mix of dark green and silver. Two folded wings lay awkwardly at its sides, one of them pinned under a thick steel beam. A long tail was coiled near the floor, twitching now and then. Its chest rose and fell with unsteady breaths. An alien drake, a war beast of the Drathari Dominion. Mara had seen them before, never this close. She had seen them from a distance, swooping down on human lines, breathing streams of energy and fire, tearing apart armored vehicles. Human soldiers called them dragons. The official reports called them bioengineered war platforms. This one was Shivering. For a few seconds, Mara just stared. Her hand hovered over her sidearm, but she did not draw it. Her mind raced through possibilities. Trap? Lure? Maybe it was only playing weak. But her med scanner did not lie. High fever, irregular heartbeat, tissue damage, and something else. A spreading signal in its bloodstream, like a hostile infection. The drake's eye opened. It was a bright, glowing gold with a thin black slit in the center. It focused on Mara. She stiffened but did not step back. The creature's lip pulled up, showing sharp teeth, but it did not try to move. It just watched her. Mara slowly raised her hands, showing they were empty. "I'm not here to hurt you," she said quietly, though she knew it might not understand human speech. The drake let out a low growl, more like a rumble of distant thunder. Its breath came out in hot waves that made Mara's faceplate fog up. It tried to push itself up, but its limbs trembled and it collapsed again with a dull crash. Her training shouted inside her head now, wounded, critical, enemy or not, it was still a living being. Mara looked at the pinned wing. The steel beam had knocked off some scales and dented the flesh beneath, but that alone would not explain the fever. Her scanner highlighted infection markers, spreading fast. She knelt carefully, staying clear of the claws and mouth, and set her med pack on the ground. She tapped the side of her helmet. "Command, this is Kessler," she said. "I've located the signal. It's not human." A pause. "Say again, Kessler." "It's an enemy drake," she said. "One of their war beasts. It's wounded, sick, Fever's off the charts, infection spreading, it's in bad shape. Another pause, longer this time. Recommend you withdraw, Lieutenant, Command said. Leave it. That thing is enemy hardware. Mara stared at the creature. Its eye had closed again, but its body still shook with small, uncontrolled shivers. She thought of the dozens of human soldiers she had treated that week, the ones who had cried, the ones who had begged her not to let them die, the ones who had simply stared at the ceiling, silent and resigned. I am a medic, she said softly. Repeat your last, Kessler. She exhaled. Command, I'm going to attempt to stabilize the subject. It's not combat capable in this state. I can get data on Drathari biology from this. Could help us later. Over. It was not a full lie. Studying this creature might help them learn how to fight them, but that was not the whole truth. She wanted to help because it was suffering. Kessler, this is a serious breach of... She muted the channel. Sorry, she said to the voice that could no longer hear her. But I took an oath. She turned back to the Drake and opened her med pack. Inside were injectors, nano-suture kits, auto-bandages, and vials of broad-spectrum nanomedicine. Many of these were meant for humans, but the basics were the same. Fight infection, support the body, keep the patient alive. Mara got closer, step by slow step. She stopped when she was close enough to touch the Drake's neck. Heat radiated from its scales like standing near a furnace. Up close, she could see that some scales were cracked and strange black veins spread between them, pulsing faintly. She swallowed. Okay, big guy, she murmured. Let's see what we can do. The Drake's eye opened again, weak but watchful. She held up the scanner and slowly moved it over the neck and chest. Vital signs were unstable but not yet hopeless. I'm going to help you, she said. If you understand me, don't bite me, okay? That would be rude. She had no idea why she was talking to it like a patient who could answer. Maybe it made her feel less alone in the ruins. She filled a hypo-injector with a dose of nanomedicine. It was designed to target multiple types of bacteria, viruses, and even some synthetic infections. She adjusted the dosage up for the creature's size. It might still be too little, but too much could cause a shock. First shot, she said softly. She moved closer to the neck, searching for a softer spot between the scales. The Drake tensed, claws scraping weakly against the floor, but it did not lash out. Mara set her hand against its hot scales to steady herself. They felt rough, but there was a strange warmth, almost like touching skin with a very hard shell. She pressed the injector against a gap between scales and triggered it. There was a short hiss. The Drake flinched but did not roar or attack. That's it, she said. Medicine's inside now. It's going to help your body fight the infection. Might feel strange. You might get sleepy. That's normal. Don't panic. The Drake breathed out a long, shaking sigh. The glow in its eye dimmed for a moment, then brightened again. She thought she felt a faint shift in the tension of its muscles. Mara reached into her pack again and pulled out a thermal blanket. Small for something this size, but it was what she had. She stared at the massive body and then laughed once, quietly. This is going to be ridiculous, she said to herself. She climbed carefully onto a part of the Drake's shoulder where the scales rose into natural ridges. From there, she could spread the blanket over the base of its neck and chest, the places where large blood vessels likely ran. The blanket stuck in place and began to emit gentle warmth, tuned high to match the creature's already elevated body temperature. As she climbed down, her foot slipped for a second on a loose scale. Her hand slapped against the Drake's side. In that moment, she could feel its muscles twitch under her palm. So much power, even in weakness. The Drake made a low sound, almost like a groan. Not angry, more tired. She stepped back and looked at its pinned wing. If that metal beam shifted the wrong way, it could crush more of the limb. She did not have heavy lifting gear, but she had something else: micro cutters and a portable support frame. "All right," she said. "Let's move this thing before it moves you." She set the support frame under part of the beam. It unfolded with a soft click and extended small legs like a metal spider. She activated it, and the frame pushed up slowly, taking some of the beam's weight. Mara then used her micro cutter to shave off pieces from the side of the beam, making it lighter. The work took time. Her arms ached, and sweat ran down her back inside her suit. Several times the beam creaked and shifted, making her heart jump into her throat. Each time, the drake growled softly but did not strike. It was trusting her in its own way. Finally, the pressure on the wing lessened enough that she could slide it out by gently guiding the leathery membrane with her hands. The freed wing fell flat against the ground, twitching weakly. She scanned it: torn tissue, bruising, but nothing that couldn't heal with time. "Good," she said. "Your flying days are not over yet." She sprayed a layer of bio-seal over the worst tears. The clear gel hardened into a flexible film, keeping out infection and supporting the tissue. It looked strange on alien skin, but it would do for now. When she stepped back to look at her work, she realized something. The drake was no longer shivering as badly. Its breathing was still heavy, but the rhythm had improved. The fever was still high, but stable. The giant golden eye watched her. Mara met its gaze. Her reflection, small and fragile in her dark armor, shone on its surface. Human and alien, predator and healer, staring at each other in the ruins of someone else's war. She raised a hand slowly and pointed at herself. "Mara," she said. "My name is Mara." The drake stared for a long moment. Its throat moved as it swallowed. Then a broken, rough sound came out, like stones grinding together. At first, she thought it was another growl, but then she felt something in her mind, like a faint echo of words. "Me, Dick." She froze. Her heart skipped a beat. "You understand me?" The echo was faint, as if the creature were trying to push a boulder uphill. "Me, Dick, man." The voice was not in her ears. It was inside her thoughts, dry and weak, but there. Mara swallowed. She had heard rumors that Drathari war beasts could use a form of telepathy with their handlers, but no human had ever experienced it this close and lived to talk about it. "That's right," she said softly. "I'm a human medic." The drake's eye closed halfway. She felt another faint echo in her mind, like a brief spark on the edge of sleep. "Man gave fire against cold." Mara realized it was trying to describe what she had done. Medicine against infection. Warmth against shivering. "Yes," she said. "I gave you medicine. I helped you." Slowly, the great head lowered until it rested fully on the ground. The huge body relaxed, not in defeat, but in exhausted trust. The shivers grew weaker, then faded to small tremors. Her scanner confirmed it. The nanomedicine was moving through its system, fighting the spreading infection. It would not heal in minutes, but the worst danger, for now, was passing. Mara sat down beside the drake, her back against its warm side. She turned her comms back on. "Kessler, this is command. Respond. Kessler, are you still on site?" She took a deep breath. "This is Kessler," she said. "Subject is stabilized. I repeat, subject is stabilized. I'm going to monitor it for a while and then return to camp." "You disobeyed a direct—" She closed her eyes. "With respite, sir. I did my job." There was a long silence. Finally, command replied, voice tight but controlled. "Return when you can, Lieutenant. We'll discuss this later. Command out." The channel went quiet. Mara opened her eyes and looked up at the broken ceiling, where gray clouds rolled over the burned sky. She listened to the slow, steady breathing beside her. Maybe tomorrow, when she came back, the drake would be gone. Maybe it would wake up and fly away. Maybe she would never see it again. That was okay. For now, she had done what she could. For now, a human had given life to an enemy. She didn't know that this simple act, in the ruins of a forgotten station, would change the course of the war. That part would come later. For now, the medic rested beside the alien dragon, watching over it as it slept. The human forward camp on the moon's surface woke slowly, like a tired giant stretching after a long night. Rows of metal barracks glowed under the cold morning sun. Soldiers carried gear from one tent to another. Engineers fixed drones and armored walkers. Coffee machines hissed inside the mess hall. Everything looked normal, but Lieutenant Mara Kessler felt tense. She stood outside the medical tent, tightening the straps on her chest armor. Her eyes kept drifting toward the direction of the ruined mining station, the place where she had found the wounded alien drake the day before. She wasn't sure why she couldn't stop thinking about it. Maybe because she had never treated something so large. Maybe because it had spoken to her, weak telepathic words that still echoed in her mind. Maybe because she wasn't sure if she had made a mistake. Her commanding officer, Captain Hale, stepped out from the central command dome and walked toward her. He looked tired, with dark circles under his eyes. "Kessler," he said, hands behind his back. "Debrief in 10 minutes. After that, you're on supply duty." Mara nodded. "Yes, sir." Hale studied her for a moment, then sighed. "You're thinking about that creature again." Mara didn't deny it. "I need to check on it." "You know it's dangerous," he said quietly. "If it regains strength, it could turn on you, or on all of us." Mara looked at the ground. It didn't attack even when it was scared and hurting. It had the chance. "Doesn't matter." Hale shook his head. "These things were made for war. Their loyalty is to the Drathari Dominion, not to us." Mara wanted to argue, but she held her tongue. Hale wasn't wrong, and yet, something about the creature didn't match what the record said. Before she could respond, the camp alarm cut through the morning like a blade. Beep, beep, beep! Soldiers immediately jumped to action. Some grabbed rifles, others ran to defensive towers. Sirens flashed red. "What now?" Hale muttered and tapped his wrist console. "All units, report!" Voices filled the comms with confusion and tension. "Movement on the East Ridge." "It's huge, very huge, moving towards us. Weapons ready? Prepare for possible enemy assault." Mara felt her stomach drop. She ran to the nearest defensive platform and climbed the ladder 2 steps at a time. At the top, she looked through the reinforced glass viewer. Her breath caught. A massive shape was walking toward the camp. Dark green scales, silver ridges, wide wings folded at its sides, long tail moving slowly behind it. The drake. The same one. The one she had treated last night. Her heart raced. It looked stronger now, walking steadily instead of shivering. But its movements were careful, controlled, almost slow, like it didn't want to scare anyone. Around its neck, something glimmered in the sunlight. A metal shield plate, tied with torn cables, hung like a strange necklace. On it, someone, or something, had scratched a simple white mark, a sign used by many species to signal truce. The entire camp held its breath as the creature approached. Captain Hale stepped beside Mara. His face had gone pale. "You treated that thing," he said. "This is your patient?" Mara nodded silently. "It's coming right at us," Hale said. "Why? Does it want food, medicine, or revenge?" Mara didn't answer. She didn't know either. All she felt was a strange pull inside her chest. The drake stopped about 50 meters from the front gate. Dust settled around its claws. Its golden eyes scanned the rows of human soldiers pointing rifles and cannons at it. Everyone waited for it to attack. Instead, The drake slowly lowered its body until its chest touched the ground. Then it gently nudged the metal plate forward with its snout. The plate slid across the dirt and stopped right in front of the human barricade. The scratch mark on it gleamed in the light, a symbol of peace. Gasps and whispers rippled through the soldiers. Is it offering a truce? Why would it do that? This has to be a trick. No, look at it. It's not attacking. Captain Hale clenched his jaw. This is unusual behavior, extremely unusual. The drake's wings twitched. Then its golden eyes turned directly toward Mara. She felt a faint pressure in her mind. A gentle voice, still rough and weak but clearer than yesterday. Medic human. Mara froze. The telepathic whisper slid through her thoughts like a warm ripple. I seek the one who healed me. She exhaled slowly, trying to keep her hands from shaking. Sir, she said to Hale, I think it's calling for me. Hale stared at her. You have two options, Kessler. Stay behind the line like everyone else. Or, Mara asked, or walk out there and get eaten. She swallowed. I don't think it will hurt me. And you're basing that on what? A feeling? Mara nodded. Yes. Hale muttered something under his breath, then signaled the soldiers. Hold your fire. Nobody shoots unless I give the order. The soldiers lowered their guns slightly, but their fingers stayed on the triggers. Mara, Hale said softly, if it attacks, if anything happens, you run. You don't try to be a hero. Understood? She nodded once. Then she walked toward the gate. When Mara stepped through the opening, she felt hundreds of eyes watching her. The wind tugged at her medic coat. The ground trembled lightly under her boots as she approached the massive creature. The drake lifted its head. Its golden eye focused on her with deep intensity. She stopped 3 meters away. Hello again, she said softly. The drake exhaled, a warm wave of air brushing her face and sending dust drifting around her feet. Medic human, the voice echoed in her mind. You came? Mara took a slow breath. I had to. You scared everyone. The drake blinked, a gesture that almost looked like confusion. No scare, only seek. Seek what? She asked. The drake lowered its head again until its muzzle almost touched the ground. When it spoke, its mental voice was clearer. Debt. Life debt. A small chill crawled down Mara's spine. She had read about such things in alien communication files, ancient customs among certain species where saving a life created a bond of loyalty. You don't owe me anything, she said gently. I just did my job. The drake's mental voice grew heavier, more serious. Your job is heal human, not heal enemy. But you healed me. Therefore, my life is yours to guard. Behind her, she heard soldiers murmuring nervously. What is it saying? Is it hostile? Is the medic safe? Captain Hale stepped closer but stayed behind the gate. Mara, he called, translate. What does it want? Mara kept her eyes on the drake. It says it owes me a life debt. Hale stared. You're saying it wants to protect you? The drake lifted its wings slightly in a gesture that looked ceremonial, almost respectful. I vow, the telepathic voice said slowly. I stand with human medic. The wind grew still as if the world itself paused to listen. Mara felt her chest tighten with shock, confusion, and a strange softness she couldn't explain. You don't have to do this, she whispered. The drake's voice came like a deep heartbeat. I want. You brought fire against cold. You saved me. The giant creature lifted its head again. Its golden eyes seemed brighter, full of a new strength. Now I save you. Behind Mara, the soldiers didn't know how to react. Some whispered in disbelief. Others lowered their weapons, not fully trusting but realizing the drake wasn't there to kill them. Captain Hale rubbed his forehead. I can't believe this. A Drathari war beast defecting, helping us? Mara kept her voice steady. Sir, it didn't choose this war. It's alive and it made a choice today. Hale studied the scene for a long moment. Finally, he sighed. Fine. For now, we treat it as a neutral entity. It stays outside the gates. Nobody provokes it. And you, he pointed at Mara, are responsible for it. Mara nodded. Understood. The drake's head lowered toward her again. Name, it said in her mind. My name? She asked. Yes. Mara. The drake repeated it slowly, shaping the sound with its mind. Ma. Ra. She smiled faintly. What's your name? There was a long pause. Then a deep, ancient voice filled her thoughts. Fael Rith. The name vibrated through her mind like thunder, a powerful name, a proud name, a name of a creature who had once been an enemy, and now stood before her as something else entirely. Vile Rith, she said, tasting the unfamiliar sound. Thank you for trusting me. The drake touched the ground with his snout again, a gesture she suspected meant respect or allegiance. Trust, because you healed, Velrith said. Trust, because you did not fear. Mara took a deep breath and stepped closer. She raised her hand a little, not quite touching him, but close enough that he could sense it. I'll help you again if you ever need it, she said softly. Vilrith's voice warmed, and I guard you until life ends. Far behind her, Hale muttered, Oh, great. Now she has a dragon. Mara didn't turn around. She only watched Vale Rith, the alien dragon who had walked into a human war camp carrying a symbol of truce. She didn't know what would happen next. But she felt one truth settle inside her like a steady heartbeat. Everything had changed. The human forward camp slowly settled after the shock of the drake's arrival. Soldiers whispered the creature's name again and again. Vile Rith. Some said it with fear, others with curiosity. A few said it with anger. But one person said it with calm certainty. Lieutenant Mara Kessler. She stood at the edge of the camp, watching Vale Rith as he rested on a patch of open ground just outside the defensive gate. His wings lay neatly folded, and his long tail curled around his body like a sleeping cat, if a cat were 50 meters long and covered in scales. He had not moved much since arriving. He remained still, waiting, watching the humans with quiet, golden eyes. Mara stepped closer, carrying a scanner and a med kit. Captain Hale walked beside her, though clearly not by choice. If this thing sneezes? I'm ordering everyone to run, Hale muttered. Mara smiled a little. He won't sneeze. He's still weak. He needs rest. Great. I'll rest when the war ends, Hale grumbled. A group of soldiers near the gate stood with rifles lowered but ready. They watched every small movement of the drake, their tension sharp and heavy in the air. Mara ignored the pressure and walked forward until she stood just a few steps in front of Vile Rith. His eyes opened fully at her approach. Ma, Ra, the voice echoed in her mind, stronger than before, though still with a rough texture, like wind scraping across stone. Hey, she said softly. How are you feeling today? The drake lifted his head slightly. Warm, breath, steady, pain, less. That's good, she said. Your infection, is it still hurting? A pause. Inside burn, still, but small now. I can check it, she offered. Vile Rith lowered his head in a slow nod. Medic human, May. Mara was surprised by how natural it felt to communicate with him now. The telepathic voice wasn't loud or overwhelming. It simply slipped gently into her thoughts. She moved closer, scanning the scales along his neck and chest. The nanomedicine she had injected was still active in his system. The fever had lowered. Black veins of infection were shrinking. You're healing well, she said, because you help. She touched a warm scale lightly with her gloved hand. Vile did not flinch. His golden eye watched her with an unfamiliar softness for such a fierce creature. Captain Hale coughed loudly from behind. Kessler? What exactly are you doing right now? Checking his vitals, Mara replied. Right. Of course, Hale said in disbelief, because that's normal. Totally normal to do checkups on giant war dragons. Mara hid a small smile. He's a patient. He's a war beast, Hale snapped. Vaelrith turned his head just slightly toward Hale. The captain froze like someone who had just stepped on a landmine. The Drake's mental voice touched both of their minds. I am not beast. I am Vaelrith. Hale's face lost all color. It talks to me? Mara nodded. Yes, he can communicate telepathically. Hale muttered something that sounded like a prayer mixed with a complaint. Later that day, Mara sat beside Vaelrith, eating a ration bar while he rested. Several curious soldiers kept a safe distance, whispering as they observed the strange pair. A young engineer, Private Lino, approached Mara hesitantly. Lieutenant, is it safe to be so close to him? If he wanted to hurt me, Mara said calmly, he could have done it yesterday. Lino nodded slowly. What's he like? Mara looked up at the Drake's enormous form. Intelligent, calm, and more polite than half the officers in this camp. Vaelrith's tail twitched slightly at that. A mental whisper followed. Polite. Is good? Mara smiled. Yes, very good. The Drake let out a low, pleased hum that vibrated the ground. Lino stared in awe. He understands jokes? Apparently, Mara answered, watching Vaelrith's golden eyes glimmer. The camp slowly began to adjust to the idea of a massive Drake lying outside their gates. Some soldiers brought food scraps, mostly metal sheets, minerals, and energy cells, after discovering the Drake could absorb energy through certain types of matter. Others simply watched from a distance, trying to understand why an enemy creature would choose to protect a human medic, but not everyone accepted it. At sunset, Mara joined Vaelrith again. The sky burned orange against the dusty horizon. The Drake lifted his head as she approached. Ra, he said, greeting her again. You're getting better at saying my name, she said. Your name? Simple, he replied. Human words, soft. My words, heavy. Your name is beautiful, Mara said honestly. It feels old and strong. Vaelrith blinked slowly. Name carries bloodline, memory. Memory of what? He turned his gaze toward the distant mountains. His voice grew deeper and colder. My kind, born for sky, for freedom, for sun. But Dominion used chain, used fear. Mara felt her stomach tighten. They forced you? Forced, breed. Forced, fight. A trembling sound entered his mental voice. Anger, pain, maybe both. Those who sick, weak, were left to die. The infection, the fever, the cold shivering. They had not been accidents. Realization hit Mara hard. You mean they infected you on purpose? Vaelrith's golden eyes darkened. They see us as tools. Broken tool. Throw away. A long silence stretched between them. Mara sat down on a rock near his giant claws. I'm sorry, she said softly. Why sorry? You did not harm. No, she said slowly. But humans and Drathari both treat living beings like weapons sometimes. It's not right. Vaelrith lowered his head closer to her. The warm breath brushed her cheek. You saw pain. You healed. That's what medics do. Not for enemy. Mara looked into his golden eyes. I didn't see an enemy. I saw someone who needed help. A slow rumble, warm and gentle, came from deep in Vaelrith's chest. That is why I vowed. She smiled faintly. You don't have to protect me forever. I choose, Vaelrith replied firmly. Choice is freedom. The word struck her. Freedom, a thing he had been denied all his life. Then I'm glad you chose something good, she said. Vaelrith's wings lifted slightly as though he were proud, but not everyone in the camp shared that feeling. Later that night, while most soldiers slept, two men approached Mara's tent. They were armed and angry. Sergeant Drax, a tall, frustrated soldier with a scar across his cheek, shoved Mara awake. Kessler, get up. Mara sat up quickly. What's wrong? You need to come with us, Drax said, voice sharp. That thing outside, it's dangerous. We're getting rid of it tonight. Mara's eyes widened. You can't. He hasn't hurt anyone. He will, Drax snapped. It's only a matter of time. We're ending this before it kills the whole camp. Mara pushed past him and ran out of the tent. Drax cursed and followed. Vaelrith was awake, towering in the moonlight. His golden eyes narrowed as he sensed danger. Several soldiers stood with rifles pointed at him. Stop! Mara shouted, sprinting toward them. Drax grabbed her arm. This is for everyone's safety! Vaelrith rose to his full height, wings unfolding slightly. The ground trembled. Mara pulled free from Drax and stood between the soldiers and the drake. If you fire, she said, voice shaking but firm, you'll have to shoot me first. Everyone froze. Vaelrith's voice filled the night. Move. No, she whispered. I won't let them hurt you. Drax yelled, Are you insane? It's a monster. Mara met his furious eyes. He's alive. He thinks. He feels. He speaks. He chose peace. Drax hesitated. The soldiers behind him shifted uncertainly. Vaelrith slowly lowered his wings, making himself smaller, less threatening. No harm, he whispered into their minds. I come. Only for medic human. The sincerity of the voice, its sadness, its seriousness, shook the group. One by one, rifles lowered. Drax threw his gun to the ground in anger. This is madness! We'll regret this! He stormed away, the others following slowly. Mara turned to Vaelrith with trembling breath. Thank you for not attacking. Vaelrith bent his head low, almost to the ground. I would never harm your kind, he murmured. Not while you are my guide. Mara touched the side of his muzzle. I'm glad you trust me. Trust was first lesson you gave, he replied quietly. More lessons. I want. She smiled softly. Then tomorrow we'll teach each other. The drake settled beside the gate once more, curling into a protective shape. Mara sat beside one of his giant claws, exhaustion and relief washing over her. Above them, the stars shone cold and bright. A wounded alien dragon had turned into a guardian. A human medic had turned into his reason for choosing a new path, and together, they had formed a bond that never should have existed. But it had. And soon that bond would shake the entire war. The moon's surface trembled under the rumbling sky. Thick clouds hung over the horizon like bruises, lit from below by distant explosions. The war had reached a new stage, louder, sharper, and more dangerous than before. Inside the human camp, soldiers moved quickly, carrying ammunition crates, emergency power cells, and med supplies. Engines roared. Sirens flashed. The entire camp felt tense, like a bowstring pulled too tight. Something was coming, and everyone knew it. Lieutenant Mara Kessler stood in the command center, staring at the large hologram map. Red dots, enemy signatures, moved across the terrain like a spreading storm. Captain Hale rubbed his temples. Drathari strike force, large numbers, heading directly toward us. How long until they reach the camp? Mara asked. 2 hours at most, Hale said. Maybe less. Mara swallowed. They're coming for Vaelrith, aren't they? Before Hale could answer, a deep voice filled her thoughts. Yes. She turned to see Vaelrith standing just outside the command dome. His huge shadow stretched across the camp floor. Soldiers instinctively backed away, not out of fear, but out of respect. Mara stepped toward him. "You're sure they're coming because of you?" Valrith lowered his head. "Dominion does not forgive betrayal. They sent hunters." Hale's eyes widened. "Hunters?" Valrith's wings twitched, as if remembering old pain. "Special unit. Commanders. They control drakes like me." Mara's breath caught. "Control? How?" Valrith's voice turned cold. "Neural chains, pain signals, force obey." Hale muttered, "Wonderful. So they'll try to reclaim you." Valrith's golden eyes darkened. "They will try to kill me, and all who helped me." A cold silence followed. Mara stepped closer, touching his warm scales. "We won't let that happen." Valrith looked at her, his mind voice steady but heavy. "No, this fight is mine." Captain Hale stepped forward. "We're not letting you go alone. You're part of this camp now." A strange expression passed across the drake's massive features, something like pride mixed with fear. "If I stay, they destroy you all." Mara shook her head. "If you leave, they'll still hunt us, thinking we helped you escape." Valrith froze at that truth. Hale crossed his arms. "We fight them together. End of discussion." For a long moment, the drake said nothing. Finally, the huge creature lowered his head, almost bowing. Then, "We stand together." The humans prepared defenses around the camp. Automated turrets were loaded and activated. Shield generators hummed as they built protective barriers. Snipers climbed into towers. Combat engineers dug new trenches. Mara moved fast through the camp, distributing medkits, checking wounded soldiers, and giving instructions to field medics. She felt the pressure building in her chest with every passing minute. The strike force was getting closer. The sky darkened. Then the ground vibrated with heavy footsteps. They were here. Mara rushed to the defensive line just as the first enemy forms appeared over the ridge. Sleek shapes, armored soldiers, floating drones, and 3 massive drakes clad in black metal plates. Their wings beat the air with terrifying power, but leading them was something worse. A tall figure in spiked armor, holding a staff that hummed with electric energy. The staff tip glowed with a sinister blue light. Valrith stiffened, his wings rising with instinctive fear. "Commander Zaltor," he whispered in Mara's mind. "He held my chain." Mara's fingers clenched. "So he's the one who hurt you?" "Yes." The word came like a growl of thunder. Zaltor raised his staff, his mechanical voice booming across the field. "Run, human insects! The creature belongs to the Dominion." Valrith stepped forward, wings spreading wide. His voice roared in every human mind and every corner of the camp. "No!" The commander turned his masked face toward the drake. "You dare defy your masters." Valrith raised his head high. "I have no master. I choose my path." Zaltor pointed the staff directly at Mara. "Then the medic dies first." Valrith moved like lightning. "No!" He slammed his tail into the ground, sending dust and rocks flying. A shockwave rolled through the battlefield. Humans ducked behind barriers as the blast hit the enemy line. The battle began. The human soldiers fired first. Turrets unleashed streams of bullets and energy. Missiles streaked across the sky. The enemy drakes soared upward, breathing burning plasma toward the camp shields. Valrith roared louder than thunder and launched himself into the sky. His wings beat with massive strength, lifting him upward to collide with one of the enemy drakes. The clash shook the air. Mara watched from the medical post, heart slamming against her ribs. Valrith bit into the enemy drake's metal armor, tearing it off with a powerful shake. The enemy creature screamed and tried to slash him with glowing claws, but Valrith caught the strike and rolled in midair, throwing the other beast into the side of the ridge. The sky lit up with explosions. "Mara!" a medic shouted. We need help on the Western Line! She forced herself away, running toward the injured soldiers. Bullets, fire, and smoke filled the battlefield. She dragged a wounded engineer behind cover, patched a soldier's torn leg armor, and sprayed burn foam on another's arm. Above everything, Valeryth fought like a storm given wings. But the Dominion's commander was strong. Zaltor lifted his staff and fired a bolt of blue energy toward the Drake. It struck Valeryth's side, right where the infection had weakened him. Valeryth roared in pain and dropped several meters, barely catching himself. Mara gasped. "No!" She ran toward him instinctively. "Mara, stay back!" Hale yelled. She didn't listen. Valeryth hit the ground hard, dust exploding around him. His wing bent awkwardly. His chest heaved. Mara sprinted to his side. "Valeryth, stay with me!" The Drake's golden eye flickered. "Ra, danger! Go! I'm not leaving you!" Zaltor approached, the staff glowing brighter. "Step aside, human medic! That creature is property of the Dominion!" Mara stood in front of Valeryth, shielding him with her tiny frame. "He's not your property! He's alive! He thinks! He chooses!" Zaltor raised his staff. "Then you die with him!" A shot rang out. Captain Hale fired from the command tower, hitting the commander's shoulder. Zaltor staggered, but not for long. The battle grew even louder. Human soldiers pushed forward. Enemy troops charged. Plasma bursts filled the sky with blue fire. Through the chaos, Mara worked fast. She grabbed her med injector, filled it with pain blockers and healing nanites, and pressed it against Valeryth's scales. "Hold on," she whispered. The Drake growled weakly. "You saved again. And I'll keep doing it," she said fiercely. "Now get up!" The nanites spread quickly. Valeryth's breathing steadied. His wings twitched. Zaltor charged forward, swinging his staff. Valeryth's eyes snapped open. "Enough!" He surged upward with sudden strength, slamming into the commander. The two collided in a shockwave that shook the battlefield. Mara stumbled back as Valeryth roared with newfound fury. He wrapped his tail around Zaltor and hurled him across the ground. The commander crashed into a rocky mound. His staff cracked. Valeryth stood tall, wings wide, eyes blazing like suns. "No more chains. No more pain. I fight for my own choice." With one final strike of his claws, Valeryth destroyed the commander's staff. The energy inside it exploded in a burst of blue light. The remaining enemy drakes screeched in fear. Without their commander's control, they broke formation and fled into the distance. The Dominion troops retreated seconds later. Silence fell. Then cheers erupted from the humans. "We won! They're retreating! That dragon saved us! We're alive!" Mara rushed toward Valeryth, who slowly lowered himself to the ground, exhausted but alive. She placed her hand gently on his warm scales. "You did it. You protected everyone." Valeryth's voice was soft. "I protected you." Mara smiled with tired eyes. "And I protected you. Looks like we're even now." The Drake's golden eye glowed warmly. "No. Life debt continues, until I see your world safe." Mara's chest tightened in a way she didn't fully understand. "You don't have to fight for us anymore," she whispered. "I choose," Valeryth said. "Freedom is choice." The wind carried his words across the battlefield, as if recording them in the very dust and sky. Around them, the human soldiers gathered, staring at the giant Drake with awe instead of fear. For the first time, they didn't see a monster. They saw a warrior, a protector, an ally. The turning point of the war had arrived, and it came not from a weapon, but from a bond. The battlefield stayed quiet long after the smoke cleared. The sky above the moon's surface shifted from ash gray to pale blue as the sun slowly rose over the jagged mountains. What had been chaos only hours ago now felt strangely peaceful. Lieutenant Mara Kessler sat on a flat rock near the medical post, cleaning dried dust from her gloves. Her arms ached, her back hurt, and her legs trembled from exhaustion. But none of that mattered. Her eyes kept drifting toward the large shape resting near the camp's protective wall. Viel Rith. The drake lay stretched across the ground, his wings folded neatly, his breathing slow and steady. The golden glow in his eyes remained dim, tired, yes, but alive. Alive because he fought, alive because he chose his own fate, and alive because Mara refused to let him fall. Captain Hale approached quietly, stopping beside her with a deep sigh. "We should be dead," he said, rubbing his forehead. "All of us." Mara watched the drake carefully. "But we're not." "No," Hale said, "because of him." The captain looked at Mara with a strange expression, something between disbelief, respect, and confusion. "You really changed things," Hale said quietly. "Not just for the camp, for this whole war." Mara looked at her dusty gloves. "I didn't change anything. I just did my job." Hale shook his head. "No. You saved a life that everyone else would have left behind. And now that life is saving ours, that's not just a job. That's something rare." Mara said nothing. Her eyes were drawn again to Viel Rith. The drake shifted slightly, tail twitching as if he sensed her thoughts. "Does command know what happened?" she asked. Hale nodded. "I sent a full report. They're processing it." "Processing," she repeated. "That sounds like they don't know what to do next." "Pretty much." Before they could continue, a small group of soldiers approached. Some carried ration packs. Others seemed unsure, hovering a few steps behind. One soldier, Private Lino, held a metal container full of energy-charged mineral plates. Lieutenant? Can we give these to him?" Mara smiled softly. "He'll appreciate it." Lino nodded and moved forward carefully. Viel Rith lifted his head as the soldiers approached. His golden eyes watched them closely. Not threatening, just observing. Lino set the container down and stepped back. For several seconds, nobody moved. Then the drake lowered his snout, sniffed the minerals, and slowly swallowed one. The hum inside his chest deepened. A soft content sound like distant thunder. The soldiers stared in amazement. "He liked it," Lino whispered. Viel Rith lifted his head slightly. His voice echoed faintly in their minds. "Thank you." Several soldiers jumped from shock. Others just stared wide-eyed. Mara laughed under her breath. "You'll get used to that." "Will I?" Hale muttered. Later, Mara stood at the open field outside the camp while Viel Rith practiced stretching his wings. The injuries from the battle were healing slowly, thanks to nanites and his own natural resilience. He tried a light flap, lifting a few inches off the ground before landing with a soft thump. Mara clapped. "You're improving." Viel Rith let out a low rumble. "We'll fly soon. Not today." "That's all right," Mara said. "Rest is good." The drake lowered his head close to her level. "You worry. I feel." Mara shifted awkwardly. "I'm not worried. Truth, soft, but felt." Mara rolled her eyes. "You're getting better at reading emotions." Viel Rith blinked slowly. "Because you show. Humans show more than they say." "That's not wrong," Mara admitted. The drake's gaze softened. "When battle came, you stood before me. You would have done the same." Viel Rith shook his head gently. "I am large. You are small. You stand anyway." A soft warmth filled his voice. "This is strange strength, hard to understand, easy to respect." Mara looked down, hiding her smile. Their bond had grown fast, too fast maybe, but it felt right, natural, honest. Something built not from power or fear, but from choice and compassion. By evening, a human transport ship arrived at the camp. its engines leaving trails of dust as it landed. A group of officers emerged, their uniforms carrying medals and symbols of authority. General Arden, a serious woman with silver hair, stepped forward. Her eyes scanned the camp before settling on Vale Rith. "So the reports are true," she said. Mara stepped forward. "General, this is—" "Vale Rith," Arden finished. "The Drake who defied the Dominion." Vale Rith lifted his head and bowed it respectfully. "Human leader." Arden nodded. "We don't bow to each other here. We negotiate." She turned to Mara. "Lieutenant, walk with me." Mara followed her toward a quieter area. Arden clasped her hands behind her back. "You treated the creature?" "Yes, General." "You defended it?" "Yes." "You risked court-martial, disobeyed multiple orders, and brought an enemy war asset into human territory. Why?" Mara thought for a moment. Then she answered simply, "Because he needed help." Arden studied her face carefully, reading every small expression. "You're aware," Arden said, "that your decision changed the course of a major battle." "Yes." "And you're aware the Dominion may see this as a type of betrayal by one of their most powerful assets?" "Yes." Arden exhaled slowly. "Then I suppose you understand the consequences." Mara tensed, but the General's next words surprised her. "You gave humanity something we've never had." She looked toward Vile Rith. "A willing ally from the other side." Mara blinked. "Does that mean he'll be accepted?" "Accepted?" Arden laughed quietly. "No, not yet. Many are afraid of him. Many want to destroy him. Others want to study him like a lab sample." Mara clenched her fists. "But," Arden continued, raising a hand, "he will be respected, protected, and allowed to choose his path because he earned that right on the battlefield." Mara felt relief wash through her. "There's more," Arden said. "His actions have caused disruption among the Dominion ranks. Rumors are spreading. Other Drakes have begun hesitating. Some have even left their posts." Mara's heart jumped. "Because of him?" Arden nodded. "He proved something important, that they were never just weapons." She looked at Mara with something like admiration. "And you reminded us that compassion can change the war as much as any gun." As night settled, Mara sat beside Vale Rith, staring up at the stars. The camp was calm now, soldiers resting, drones humming softly, fires glowing at the edges of tents. Vale Rith lay curled around her like a living hill of scales and warmth. "Your leader trusts?" he asked quietly. "Not fully," Mara said, "but she respects you." "Respect? Good." Mara leaned back against his warm side. "You know, you didn't have to stay. You could have run far away after the battle." Vale Rith's tail moved slightly, a slow, thoughtful motion. "Run? To where?" "Anywhere. Start a new life." The Drake's golden eyes shimmered in the dark. "Life is not place. Life is who you choose beside." Mara felt something deep inside her chest tighten. Vile Rith lowered his head gently, resting it near her feet. "You are my guide, my friend." A pause. "My freedom began when you touched my scales with warm hands." Mara's eyes softened. "And you gave us hope when we needed it most." The Drake breathed deeply, his warm breath washing over her like a quiet breeze. "Then we give hope together." Mara looked at the sky, imagining a future where humans and Drakes fought not as enemies, but as allies, maybe even family. A future where war didn't define them, a future where compassion mattered more than power. Vile Rith's voice drifted softly into her mind, gentle as falling dust. "I stay until your world is safe." "And after?" Mara asked softly. Vile Rith's golden eyes glowed. "After, I stay because I choose." Mara closed her eyes and leaned against him. No chains, No commands, just choice, just trust, just friendship stronger than war. And in that quiet moment, under the glowing stars of a wounded moon, a human medic and an alien dragon began the first chapter of a new alliance, one forged not by fear, but by compassion that refused to break.